Hello students, how are you? I hope you all are fit and fine. So dear students, as you all are aware that we are revising all the chapters of term 1. So today in this series of revision, we are going to revise chapter 2, Lost Spring, written by Annie Chan. So let's begin. First of all, I will introduce the lesson. I will introduce the poem and the poet. Then I will summarize both the parts of the lesson. Lost Spring, Stories of Stolen Childhood, written by Anis Jung. Anis Jung was born in 1964 in Rourkela and spent her childhood in Anis Jung was born in 1964 in Rourkela and spent her childhood and adolescence in Hyderabad. She received her education in Hyderabad and in the United States of America. Her parents were both writers. Anis Jung began her career as a writer in India. She has authored several books. The following is an excerpt from her book titled Lost Spring, Stories of Stolen Childhood. In this lesson, she depicts very minutely the grinding poverty and other traditions that condemn the children to a life of exploitation. They lead a miserable and pitiable life amidst poverty. Sahib is a rag picker of Simapuri, Delhi, where more than 10,000 rag pickers have their poor siblings. For them, garbage is gold as well as food. It keeps them away from the worries of life. On the other hand, the authoress presents a detailed account of the bangle makers of Firozabad in UP. They work in dingy cells and even lose the brightness of their eyes. They struggle hard for a piece of bread and remain devoid of civic amenities. A poor bangle maker's son Mukesh insists to be his own master by becoming a motor mechanic. But these bangle makers remain under a vicious circle of sahukars, the middlemen, the policemen, the keepers of the law, and bureaucrats, and the politicians. Thus, they lead a life of poverty, dirt, and exploitation. Now, important characters and other incidents of the lesson. Anis Jung, authoress born in Rourkela. Sahib Alam, a rag picker of Simapuri. Mukesh, son of bangle maker. Elder brother of Mukesh, a young woman, wife of Mukesh, elder brother. Father of Mukesh, bangle maker. Grandmother of Mukesh, an old woman. Savita, a young girl preparing bangles. A group of young men, bangle workers. Some other people, policemen, sahukars, bureaucrats and politicians, etc. Simapuri, a colony in Delhi. Firozabad, a city in UP famous for bangle making, incidents. Writers encounter with Sahib who goes on scrounging for gold in garbage. Barefoot rag pickers of Simapuri living in transit homes. Garbage to them is gold. It is their daily bread and place of dwelling. Sahib at some tea stall, but states that he is no longer his own master. Mukesh of Firozabad wants to be a motor mechanic other than his family trade of bangle making. The writer visits the poor dwellings of the bangle makers. The residents are in grim state of poverty and are devoid of other necessities of life. They lose their eyesight in the young age and work in dingy cells. They have a strong belief in Karam theory. The vicious circle of sahukars, middlemen, policemen, keepers of the law, politicians and other bureaucrats go on exploiting the bangle makers. Now part 1. Sometimes I find a rupee in the garbage. Writer's encounter with Sahib. The writer encounters Sahib every morning scrounging for gold in the garbage dumps. Sahib hails from the green fields of Dhaka. His house and fields were swept away by the storms. He does not remember his home. He is looking for gold in the big city where he now lives. He does not attend any school because there is no school in his neighborhood. If they build one, he will go. On asking by the writer, the boy announced his name, Sahib-e-Alam, which means Lord of the Universe. Though he is unaware of the meaning, he roams in the streets and with his friends, an army of barefoot boys. They appear in the morning and disappear at noon. They are poor to afford shoes or chappals. Most of them remain barefoot and travel across the country in cities and on village roads. They live in a perpetual state of poverty. Story of a man from Udupi. The authoress tells a story from a man from Udupi. When he was a young boy, he would stop near a temple to pray for a pair of shoes. His father was a priest there. The authoress visited the place after 30 years. It was found in an air of desolation. There lived a new priest, and there were red and white plastic chairs. There came a young boy in a grey uniform, wearing socks and shoes. He threw his school bag on the bed. The authoress immediately recollected the prayer another boy had made. He thought that the goddess might have granted his prayer of shoes. Now, the young boys, like the son of priest, wear shoes, but many others, like the rag pickers, remain shoeless. Simapuri is a place on the periphery of Delhi. Most of the rag pickers live here. They are from Bangladesh and have occupied unauthorized place like Sahib's family. Their structures are made of mud with the roof of tin and tarpaulin. They are devoid of sewage, drainage or running water. More than 10,000 rag pickers have been living here for more than 30 years without an identity. But they have ration cards and their names in the voters list. Food is more important for survival than an identity. It is revealed by a woman in tattered sarees that at the end of the day they can feed their families and go to bed without an aching stomach. So they prefer to live in Simapuri rather than to the green fields of Dhaka that keep them hungry. Wherever they find food, they pitch their tent and it becomes their transit homes. Children grow up in them and become partners in survival. And survival in Simapuri means rag picking. Though the years, it has acquired the position of a fine art. Garbage to them is gold. It is their daily bread, but for a child it is even more. For children it is wrapped in wonder, and for elders it is their survival. Sometimes a child can find a silver coin in the heap of garbage. He hopes of finding more. Sahib in tennis shoes. One morning, the narrator sees Sahib standing by the fenced gate of the club. Two young men dressed in white are playing tennis. He tells the authoress that he loves the game and goes inside when no one is around. The gatekeeper lets him swing. One day, a rich boy gives Sahib his discarded shoes because of a hole in one of them. Sahib wears and the hole has no meaning because he has walked barefoot. For him, it is a dream that came true, but the game is beyond his reach. Now Sahib works in a tea stall. He gets 800 rupees and all his meals. His face has lost the carefree look. He carries a steel canister that seems heavier than the plastic bag he would carry lightly over his shoulder. The bag was his, but the canister belongs to the shop owner. Sahib is no longer his own master. So it's all about the part 1, in which we have seen the authoress tells us about the rag pickers of Simapuri. The rag pickers who live in Simapuri. The authoress tells us about their grinding poverty. They are the victim of extreme poverty. Okay, that is grinding poverty. Okay. Now, part 2. I want to drive a car. The authoress has a chance to see another boy named Mukesh, who insists being his own master by becoming a motor mechanic. He will learn to drive a car, but his dream looms like a mirage. He lives amidst the dusty streets of Firozabad. It is a town famous for the bangles. Every other family in Firozabad is engaged in making bangles. It is the center of India's glass blowing industry. Here, families have spent generations making bangles for women. Mukesh's family is one of them. About 20,000 children work in glass furnaces with high temperature. None of them know that it is illegal to engage in such a business which is done in dingy cells without air and light. They often lose their eyesight. Mukesh takes Orthres to his home. Both walk down the stinking lanes choked with garbage. Their homes are like hovels and crumbling walls, wobbly doors, and without windows. They are crowded with families of humans and animals like the ancient days. The authoress enters the house of Mukesh, where dwells his family. It is like a half built shack. It is one part of thatched with dead grass. On the firewood stove, she sees a large vessel of sizzling spinach leaves. A frail woman is looking the evening meal for the whole family. Not looking, it is cooking. Okay. A frail woman is cooking the evening meal for the whole family. She is engaged, she is in ragged sari. She is the wife of Mukesh's elder brother. Through eyes filled with smoke, she smiles. She commands respect as the Bahu of the house. As per the custom, she veils her face when the elder man enters. The father of Mukesh is an impoverished bangle maker. He has not been in the position to send his two sons to school except teaching them the art of bangle making. Mukesh's grandmother says it is his karam, his destiny, who has watched her own husband go blind with the dust from polishing the glass of bangle. They cannot give up God given lineage. They have born in the caste of bangle makers. They will see nothing except the bangles. In all the streets of houses of Firozabad, bangles of all colors can be seen. Spirals of all lovely rainbow colors and glimpses of bangles lie piled up to and be carried away. All the families living in the dark huts sit together and weld pieces of colored glass into circles of bangles. Their eyes are more set to work in the dark than to the outside light, often blinding them before they grow adult. Savita, along with an elderly woman, soldiers the glass pieces, her hands moving mechanically. The authoress wonders if Savita knows the sadness of the bangles she works upon. The bangles represent the symbols of Indian women's suhag, auspiciousness in marriage. Savita will have it soon when she becomes a bride with red veil on her head, henna on her hands, and the bridal bangles rolled onto her wrist like the old woman beside her became many years ago. The old woman has still the bangles on her wrist, but there is no light in her eyes. She says with no light in her eyes, एक वक्त शेर भर खाना भी नहीं खाया. That is, she could not get full meal since long. In her whole lifetime, she did not eat one full meal. That is all she has earned. Her old husband tells that except bangles he knew nothing. All he could do is that he made a house for the family to live in. It is a wonder that has achieved what many others fail. A roof overhead. Every home has no money to do anything except carry on to make bangles. Not even enough to eat. The young also speak about their elders. Nothing has changed in Firozabad over years. There is still the mind-numbing work which kills all initiative and ability to dream. The authoress asks them to have a cooperative. They say if they get organized, police will catch them, beat them, and put them in prison for doing illegal activity. They don't have any leader among them to tell them to do things differently. Their elders are as tired as they are. They talk endlessly in a spiral, taking them from poverty. Okay, let's continue. By the time he become aware of it, he also accepts it as naturally as his father. The author sees a ray of hope in Mukesh's eyes when he says he wants to be a motor mechanic. So, the author sees clearly the two worlds. One is that which is caught in the web of poverty, carrying the work of bangle making. The other is cheats of shahukars, middlemen, policemen, keepers of the law, bureaucrats and politicians. All these together have enforced the child with these baggage which cannot put down, which they cannot put down. By the time he became aware of it, or he would become aware of it, he also accepts it as naturally as his father. The authoress sees a ray of hope in the eyes of Mukesh to become a motor mechanic. The garbage is far away from the house. He shall walk. The narrator asks him if he dreams of flying a plane. He silently says no, as he is satisfied with the dreams of cars, which moves down the streets of Firozabad. Few aeroplanes fly over his town. Okay, so Mukesh wants to be a motor mechanic. That was different. He was thinking differently from other bangle makers. So, in this way, the authoress could see a hope in his eyes, that he could see the world differently as others accepted bangle making as their destiny. Okay, dear students, So it's all about the summary of both the parts of chapter 2, Lost Spring, the stolen of Lost Spring, the story of stolen childhood. Okay, thank you for watching and see you tomorrow.